All right, let's talk about a story that pretty much invented the whole alien invasion genre, but it did so much more than that. We're diving into H.G. Wells' absolute masterpiece from 1898, The War of the Worlds. This book wasn't just about Martians, it was about holding a giant mirror up to society at the time. So, let's get right into it. I mean, just listen to that opening. It's one of the most chilling lines in all of literature, right? Right off the bat, Wells sets the stage. You've got humanity feeling on top of the world, especially with the British Empire at its peak, and they have absolutely no idea, no clue that they're being watched. And not just watched, but sized up, like a piece of property, by these cold, calculating eyes from across space. So, before any of the action kicks off, Wells is really careful to set the scene. He wants us to get the why behind the invasion. This first part is all about that hidden threat and just how clueless humanity really is. Yeah, this is the core of it, isn't it? Wells talks about humanity's infinite complacency. We're just so comfortable, so sure of ourselves, ruling over our little planet. He uses this brilliant comparison. He says we're like tiny little creatures in a drop of water, with no idea that a scientist is looking down at us through a microscope. And you have to remember, this is the peak of the British Empire. People thought they were the masters of the universe, and it never ever crossed their minds that they could be the inferior ones. So this really lays out the motivation, and it is chilling. It's basically social Darwinism on a cosmic scale. On one side, you've got Mars. It's old, it's dying. The Martians who live there are tough, hardened, because they've had to be. Then you look at Earth. It's lush, it's full of life, a morning star of hope for them. But they don't see us as equals. To them, we're just inferior animals living on a planet that's ripe for the taking. And that brings us to the moment of first contact. The Martians don't exactly send a friendly hello. Nope, they send a weapon. So, for a while, astronomers had been seeing these weird flashes of light on Mars, but, they just kind of shrugged it off. And then, bam, the first falling star hits the ground. At first, everyone thinks it's just a meteorite, a curiosity. Even when an astronomer finds this thing, a perfectly smooth 30-yard metal cylinder, clearly not natural, the crowd that shows up isn't scared. They're there for the show. I mean, this just shows how completely out of their depth people were. Can you imagine? A literal invasion capsule from another planet lands, and what's the response? Kids are throwing stones at it? A guy sets up a snack stand nearby? It's treated like a county fair. It's almost funny, but it's really about arrogance, right? It's a society so dominant, it can't even imagine being threatened. Okay, so the crowd's gathered around. The cylinder is still hot. You can hear something stirring inside. And then the top slowly starts to unscrew. The crowd pushes in closer. They can't help themselves. They're curious, maybe a little scared. What in the world is in there? And what comes out is just a nightmare. It's not a little green man. Wells describes this big, grayish, pulsating thing. It glistens like wet leather, has these two huge dark eyes that just stare. It's got this V-shaped mouth, dripping saliva. I mean, it's just pure biological horror. It's basically a giant brain with tentacles. And the sight of it just sends this wave of pure dread through everyone. All right, this is where everything changes. The shock and awe is about to turn into straight-up terror. All those quaint ideas about making first contact, they're about to get incinerated. So even after seeing this thing crawl out of the cylinder, humanity's first move is, well, it's very human. A few guys get together, they grab a white flag, the universal sign for "we come in peace," and they start walking towards the pit. They're trying to communicate to show that they're intelligent too. The Martians, they're not interested in talking. Their response is simple. It's extermination. And that's when this strange device rises out of the pit and we see their weapon for the first time. And this weapon, it's just terrifying. Wells calls it an invisible sword of heat. There's no bang, no bullet, just a shimmer in the air. But anything that shimmer touches, a person, a tree, a building, it just bursts into flames. Instantly. For people who only know cannon and rifles, a silent, invisible weapon like this isn't just deadly, it's like black magic. It's completely beyond their understanding. So that attempt to communicate, it ends in an instant massacre. The whole group with the white flag, just gone, incinerated. By the end of that first night, nearly 40 people are dead, burned so badly you can't even recognize them. The war wasn't declared. It just began. So, that first attack was brutal, but it was from a fixed position. Let's be real, the Martians didn't travel across the solar system just to sit in a hole in the ground. Now we're about to see their real war machines. And then, in the middle of a thunderstorm, the narrator sees it for the first time. The tripod. It's this monstrous, walking engine of glittering metal, taller than houses, just striding over pine trees like they're nothing. It has this hood that swivels around like a head, just watching, surveying the world it's about to conquer. It's one of the most terrifying images in science fiction, and this is where it comes from. Naturally, the army gets called in, the might of the British Empire. And for a minute, people feel safe. The soldiers are here. But this is the real question Wells is asking. What happens when the most powerful army on the planet goes up against technology that is light years ahead? What happens when the colonizer suddenly becomes the one being colonized?
And it's not even a battle. It's a slaughter. A survivor, an artilleryman, basically says it was completely pointless. They'd set up their cannons, and before they could even fire, they were destroyed. The infantry tries a brave charge, and they aren't just beaten back, they're simply wiped out. The heat ray just passes over them, and they're gone, erased.
The aftermath is just total devastation. In one single night, this peaceful English valley, the very heart of the empire, is turned into a valley of ashes. Everything is just a smoldering ruin. Houses, trees, people, all of it gone. Just a wreck under the morning sky. And that's where we're going to pause the narrative for now, because you see, The War of the Worlds is so much more than just a cool alien story. It's a razor-sharp critique of imperialism. Wells basically forced his readers, citizens of the mighty British Empire, to feel what it was like to be on the receiving end, to feel that shock, that powerlessness that their own empire inflicted on so many others. It's a story about how fast your whole world can fall apart when you're faced with a threat you were too arrogant to even consider. And it makes you wonder, even today, what are the Martians of our time? What are the big threats we're too comfortable to see, just waiting to shatter our own sense of security?